today we taste the same tea that we tasted last time, the Gaiwan, zheng, and xiao, but we approach it in a different way than the last time. So this time we go for the systematic tasting that I have here somewhere. So for those that have been already doing this exercise, you should have something like this with you. And I have the same copy I've been using for the past two teas, so I will write over and over again on the same sheet, but that's fine. I didn't have time to print. I hope that your day was a bit quieter than mine. It's pretty crazy over here, but now I have 1 hour of at least tea tasting before the mess continue. I still actually the previous tea here, so I will just drop these and get ready for the next one. I was thinking a little bit how to brew this tea, and I think I will go for 6 grams per 100 milliliters. I have a 100 milliliter Gaiwan here, so it's kind of convenient. And you can do whatever you prefer, but I think that for this tea I feel more like using a higher leaf to water ratio, so going for more leaves than I usually do. And I wasn't also unsure about which cup to use. Today I have been drinking out of these that I'm pretty sure is from Taiwan, but I'm not as sure if it is actually a cup. So it's like it could be that this was belonging to a fragrance cup set, where this was actually the fragrance cup. Also, given the shape, you see, it is not the classic straight with straight walls, but a little bit towards the inside to retain the fragrance in the cup. And it's also not very convenient to drink of it. It's like it's kind of odd because the opening is really close, so at least with my nose touched the other side of the rim before actually I start drinking it. And so I think I've lost actually the counterpart of this. I think I have one other that looks like this, but I have nothing that matches. You see, I am not even able to drink out of it. So I took just the tea taster cup, and then I thought maybe I will combine it from time to time with an Yixing clay cup that I have here. This is a cup I've been drinking a lot lately. It's not available on the store because we reserve it for Discord, and I think we have a few more for Discord users, but I really like it, so I will actually using it for doing an experiment for myself, so that I can compare the same tea just out of the two different cups. And it's just, to build up a little bit of complexity with respect to the first and second brew that we had, right? And I don't remember now which leaf quantity we used. Maybe I would assume that with the jumping shui we went for the whole brick. Can anyone remember? I'm not so sure actually. Correct. Or we broke it for these.
Yeah, I believe we used the whole brick.
The whole brick. Okay. So that's it. So also I will use warmer or hotter temperature than I would usually use for black tea this time. So more leaf quantity, not the classic 90 degrees. Maybe I go more in the direction of 95. And there is a range where you move from 90 to 100. It's similarly to green tea when you move from 80 to 90. It can be really, those 5 degrees can really make a big difference. But of course I will adapt also the brewing time accordingly, right? As the last time, we will try to do again a common exercise in going step by step, and everyone choose one, so that we will building up not a single person taste profile, but actually the results of the group that is online right now. Okay. Just thinking about the next, before I forget, the next tea classes. Next Tuesday should be all good. But then after that I fly over to China together with the participants of the tea tour. Some of them are here actually on the tea class, so I will not be available for the following week. I will be back at the very end of April, so the first Tuesday of May we will complete the sequence. But we have still time next week to repeat this. I want just to anticipate that. Good. So let's get ready with the sheet here. We have usually to write down the name of the tea. We already mentioned that, what date is today, the type I mentioned, the cultivar. I didn't check. We checked it last time. It's actually online, the tea, so you can find it there. And vendor price, purchase, and so on. So this time I will go for 95 degrees centigrade. These are the information I really want to report. I will go for 6 grams. And what is this? Ah, yes. And then I will add the steeping time later on as I do it. We can start with the dry leaves. Last time I asked you if you can recognize, I think if I remember correctly, if you could recognize the first brew blind being a black tea. What do you think about the smell of the dry leaves? Could you tell by the smell of the dry leaves that it is a black tea? Raise your hand if you think you could, which is very different than you would. Okay, is definitely less than half of the people would be able to recognize it blind. But if you think the other way around, when you are unsure about guessing something blind, you just go by exclusion. There is a lot of stuff you can exclude here. You know, you smell this leaf, you think it is a white tea, will never be a white tea. At least for me, like if I smell it, cannot be a white tea. Can it be a dark tea? Cannot be a dark tea. Definitely. Can it be a shampoo? It cannot be a shampoo. Can it be a green tea? It cannot be a green tea. So, or yellow tea? Not those that I know, but you know, we are getting closer, at least. You know, you have to think twice maybe. And then you start with oolong.
Yeah, I don't know if something's twisted in my head, but somehow it could be a Dongfang Meiren.
But Dongfang Meiren is way more aromatic than this. Way more.
It's also quite aromatic.
Yeah, but not as much. Let me check if I have one just to compare. So I have one that I can just, you know, sniff for you. It's too long. It's like too deep. I need. Where do I put this? Ah, this cup is still clean. It's like ages. Like this is like, wow, it's so fruity, aromatic. You don't smell any maltiness at all, although Dongfang Meiren Oriental Beauty is fairly oxidized, and it's really extremely aromatic in comparison. So I mean, I just took one, right? It's not that it's all like this, but it's really very different. And then if you go for oolong, I mean, there are certain oolong that you would exclude, right? I mean, there is no roasting from Yancha. It's definitely not a Dansong. It's not a Tieguanyin. It's like, you know, at a certain point, you're running out of options, right? And then you start thinking, well, if I have to guess, maybe it's a black tea. So that's also an option. But back to our black tea. For me, is more the maltiness that I feel, even already at the nose. There are other black tea that are easier to recognize than this one from the dry leaves. But I would say it's not the most difficult to guess. Like I say, sometimes it is more difficult to nail down some specific oolong teas rather than guessing it as a black tea. Then going one level down and guessing which type of black tea it is more difficult, right? There is a lot you can exclude, but also here is a bit more difficult. So dry leaves, I would say let's do all together just a relative comparison in the frame of black teas. So we use today this one here only, let's say when we think how it is the aroma, the intensity of the aroma, we have in mind as a comparison black teas, not all possible teas in this world. In theory, one could also include otherwise flavor tea. Then it's really being complex, right? And so for the dry leaves, in terms of intensity from 1 to 3, how would you guess them? How would you rate them? You can write it in the chat as we did it last time. And also, if you want, you can add next to your number. I think you can edit. You can edit your number. Let me try if I can. Yes, you can edit your entries if you want to change them. And you can add also a dry leaf fragrance. Like for me, I would write malty. That's what sticks out to me. We have three. It goes more towards the one. It's like 1.5, but we just stick to the one star. So it's not extremely aromatic. I warm up the water. I will rinse the leaves quickly, and then we go to the wet leaves. I'll show you in the meantime what I have here. I mean, beside the huge mess out of the camera, I have also this. It's a nano tong. We've got a nano tong, and we have a nano bing cha. So this is actually fresh sheng from this year that I have partially here at home, and the rest is already in Berlin. Okay, 98 degrees, so quick rinse. If I would rinse just 3 grams, usually I don't fill the whole Gaiwan. If I rinse 6 grams, I really go with ample water. One thing that maybe I'm diverging here as usual, but and I think that I often don't do just because I'm too much on a hurry when I prepare tea, is using a towel to clean up the bottom of the Gaiwan. So it's something, you know, for more refined person worth doing. Like every time you raise the Gaiwan, you just clean it up on the towel and then you pour and then you rinse it on the towel and you put it down, so you don't have, if you want a clean setup, a clean chassis, you don't have building up of drops, and particularly when you raise it up and you start, you don't have anything that is dropping from the back. But back to our black tea. So we do the same exercise. Wait, let me write first. Wet leaves. So you can, Arno had some citrus and even little violet. Okay, I need to do my antiquity. Okay, citrus. And you can add also a taste, in this case a fragrance compound next to your number if you want. Last time we didn't do it, just to go to the next level. Okay, you see that how now more adjectives come to mind. We get also some tree as a note. So we are more definitely into the 2 range, 2 to 3. So let's say 2. And you see how there is more that comes to your mind. Now, why that is not always the case? Like with some teas, you would get already quite a bit out of the dry leaves, and with this one, is the wet leaves that actually definitely bring out substantially more. I read the dry apricot, mulberries, grapes, floral, red berries, a bit of cellar, violets again, malty, for me also citrusy. It's a lot, right? So anyone, any idea why that's the case? So think how a black tea is processed. So when a black tea is processed, the leaves are rolled all over each other for like 20 minutes long. Like you would do a dough for bread with the leaves, 20 minutes long, really, usually under a machine, pretty heavily. And then they are heavily oxidized. In all this process, with respect to a very fresh oolong or a very fresh green tea, you not only change some of the compounds that then bring those deeper notes and those maltiness, but also you lose a little bit of the volatile compounds that are those that get faster to your nose, that dissolve faster in water, dissolve faster at cold temperature, are those that comes out very easily when you brew, when you do a cold brew. And this is already an indication that gets in that direction. We just wetten the leaves and we get a little bit more out of it, while with the dry leaves, on the surface of the leaves, there is not much with respect to others leaves. That's also why a black tea, with respect to a very aromatic oolong, lasts much longer. Take a very fresh Tieguanyin, you have to keep it in the fridge. Actually, in China, Tieguanyin is kept in the freezer, like a minus 20 degrees. Like minus 20, I think, is a good number. I think it works both for Celsius and Fahrenheit, worth checking, but I'm not 100% sure. Someone can do the check. But so it's really you know, well below freezing point, just to keep that freshness. And I had black teas that I had from the early days of nannuoshan, and 10 years later, they were tasting exactly the same. That would not necessarily be the case if you go for ginjumei sometimes, or less oxidized tea, but it is, if it is a heavily processed black tea, it has that aspect. Not, I said, not all black teas, right? There are exceptions, but it goes in that direction. All right, so now we go with the first infusion. I go for 98 degrees. I have 6 grams, 100 milliliters, and I will do a pretty quick brew.
Sorry, did you say 150 milliliters?
100, 6 grams, 100 milliliters. And I have like 12 seconds in my case. From the start of pouring water to the start of pouring out the tea. Okay, so it's pretty quick.
The brewing instructions on the website, do the time refer to when I start pouring the water, or when the Gaiwan is full and I put the lid on?
When you start pouring. When you start pouring in until when you start pouring out.
Okay, thanks.
That's why also many shan lovers that likes a lot of leaves, it's they really want a fast pouring pot, or with the Gaiwan it also works very well, just because they want to steep for 5 minutes, and if the spout is too little, it takes 5 seconds only to pour out, so it's don't have enough time. But that's also because we in the Western world, we like the extreme when it's like about Gongfu-cha. It's not like that in China, right? We want a huge amount of leaves, or very short brewing, very tiny teapot. It's all, we make the teapot always full. It's always the extreme, right? If you go to China, it's way more relaxed and very different. You know, teapots are larger. People don't fill the whole teapot all the time. If you ask how long do you brew it, they go by their feeling. They don't know how long they brew it. It's everything a little bit more by feeling. The first question we ask ourselves, if it is more sweet, sour, salty, bitter, or umami. You can choose only one. You're too fast, I have to write first. So what do we have? We have bitter sweet, sweet, bitter sweet. Okay, so it's bitter sweet, that's for sure. Sour, bitter sweet, sour. Okay, so I would say we have sweetness and bitterness in same amount, and a little bit of sour. I will put the start to sour and 2 too sweet and 2 too bitter. It's interesting because today I did the same tea while I was working, and surprise, surprise, I already forgot the first brew. Like not even, you know, the second or the third, already the first. I don't know how long I brew it. I think like 3 minutes, something like that. And it is 6 grams in 100 milliliters. Right? I was supposed to do 10 seconds. I did like 3 minutes. And what I noticed is that it was not as strong as I was expecting. Like I was already ready to dilute it at least by 3 times, but I even didn't dilute it. I just drank it that way, which is very unusual for me. And it had clear woody notes that I don't have so much here. I mean, someone before mentioned cedar, I think, but cedar is a more balsamic tree. But really, it was very woody, as I know it more from Tomuguan, Zheng, Xiao, Zhong, or with older plants. So here is still on the light side, and I don't taste that. But it was, you know, sometimes forgetting a brew is not always not always a problem. Yeah. I will warm it up now. We go with the second brew, and in the second brew we will go first through intensity and then texture. Now, if we start with intensity, is complex, right? Because we are comparing with other black tea, and you have to keep in mind the reference also of how much leaves do you have and how longer you are steeping with respect to other black tea. So you have to think how intense it is on a scale from 1 to 5 with respect to other black teas if you brew them in the same fashion. Have a good comparison, because today I also brewed another black tea. I'll tell you the story also about this one, just to have a break after the first brew, the second brew. All right. I will go for 20 seconds. Okay. So now we start with intensity. Let me write it. So the story of this tea is another black tea, and that's all I have. But basically we were about a year ago in EU, in Yixing, which is a small village in the northern part of EU. Like from the EU town, you have to, I think, drive about half an hour north. And we were staying with a tea producer there, and then it was me and Benjamin. At a certain point we had enough and we wanted to go out, so we started walking also almost at sunset through the village. And then just a young guy invited us for tea, and so we went in and we started drinking tea, and he gave us a few samples of what we tasted. And among them there was this honcha, this black tea from Tongqinghe, which I think, I didn't check it, but I think it is a village that is even farther northern in you. All right, so intensity, you can start if you want. With respect to other black tea. Okay, I'm just counting. So far it's really 1, 2, 3, 1. Okay, the average is 2 out of 5 in terms of intensity. And yeah, I would also say it's leaning toward the light side. If we stay in East China, like Chimen Honcha is, I would say, a little bit stronger usually. And if we go to Yunnan, for example, then yeah, black tea tends to be bolder than these, so it's right around the light side. Yeah. And we can stick to this one to think about the texture. So the tactile sensation in the mouth, how do we feel the tea? Is it very smooth? If you're unsure, you have a scale on the back here. Thin, watery, clean, velvety, smooth, round, crisp, mineral, viscose, oily, starchy, powdery, furry, rough. So how does it feel? Smooth or rough or something in between? Crisp is 3, yes. Round is 3. I had something in mind. Forgot. So there seems to be a bit more uncertainties here, 3, 3, 3, 3, although everyone is tending towards the 3, so I think that will be. And since, no, okay, nothing. 3. All right. And now, when we look into the taste, which is the next up, I think I will do intentionally a stronger brew just to get more out of the tea. Still with 98 degrees. And if I think also at the last point or the second last before the notes, the effect on the body, at least to me, it's pretty warming. It's more relaxing than exciting, but it's definitely warming. I'll do 40 seconds. And oh, okay, 40 seconds, we're almost there. Also, the color is not too dark for being 40 seconds with 6 gram, which is confirming that it is rather a light tea, as we said before. I will wait now that it cools down a little bit, just because I can taste it better. And then the first thing that each of us, let me write it already, will think of. Yeah, I don't know how long did you brew it, Hannah, to say that the intensity and texture is more, but like in my case I did double the time, so I expect also to be stronger. It really depends also if you kept the same or...
I did pretty much the same, but it seems
Same.
like the leaves are really...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a little longer, but it seems like the leaves are starting to really open up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll wait a little bit, and what we will think is each of us just choosing one out of all the taste profile that is written here, which are vegetal, floral, fruity, nutty, milky, spicy, fire animal, marine, and soil. So I wait that you guys write yours, then I share mine. Now that I read, I mean, Sven, you mentioned fruity bitterness, that I read bitter. I actually don't find it that bitter for being a black tea. I'm pretty surprised actually. Like, even now that I brew it a bit longer, I don't get all that bitterness out of it. But maybe because I would have been expecting more. In your case, you get a lot of bitterness?
Yeah, like a grapefruit almost.
So maybe more astringency or really
No,
bitter?
no, it's
Bitter.
really bitterness. Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm very sensitive to bitterness.
Okay, yes,
for me, that's really the main taste. I
okay,
guess.
okay. Yeah, for me it's exactly the opposite. I'm really not sensitive to bitterness. I actually like bitterness. Almond skin, jasmine. Yeah, but you guys should have picked one out of vegetal, floral, fruity, and so on. it's a mess. So let me see. We have some spicy, that's clear. Some fruity, cedar. Where do we put cedar?
I looked it up. It comes under soil, actually. Soil includes woods.
So soil would be in that case. Wow, it's a bit of mix, eh? I mean, one thing we can say, there is not a very clear flavor direction, right? You would not say, oh yes, that's floral, like you say jasmine black tea, that's floral, 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 floral. Here there is a little bit of everything and nothing that is really showing through. So we have some spiciness, we have some soil, some fruitiness. One time also nutty was mentioned, one or two times was mentioned floral. It's a big mix. I mean, the only thing we don't have really is fire animal and marine. And vegetal, none. Although actually to me, is also a little bit vegetal. Like for me, I was more in the woody vegetal direction. If I have to pick up one, yeah, I would say so.
I'd say almost half the people who spoke up said spicy though, so a lot of spicy.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there is somehow dominant spices that I don't feel. I'm warming it up, I want to do it again. So now, one question that I have is, if you think at the, let's say the first tasting that we have done with this tea last time, that was in the bowl, 3 grams in the bowl, and now this Gonfucha session, if you compare the two methods, which did you prefer? So raise your hand if you preferred the bowl brewing. Raise your hand if you prefer the Gonfu session. So now you see that, although of course it's very difficult to have exactly the same opinion for everyone, but you see that predominantly everyone says Gonfucha, almost everyone. And I would say that if I would have asked the same question for the jumping Shuxian, for example, which is the second tea we had, or maybe even for the green tea, there would have been more equity between the two brewing. And this is something I was also searching with my question, because it's not every tea that works well with bowl brewing. It's in fact it is not like Gonfucha. You see it everywhere through Taiwan and China, but bowl brewing is just predominantly used in Taiwan, and maybe a little bit also in Fujian, but predominantly in Taiwan with oolong tea. Like it's a method that really gives the best when you have very aromatic tea, and you are there, and you don't need that body depth to complement it, basically, and it's not the dominant part of the taste. And I think it is important to know how to brew the tea. Like for example, I don't think that this specific tea would work well with cold brewing. But after either in the morning, if I want to start with the black tea, like I did this morning, or after dinner, I would maybe tend more to brew something like this tea rather than a very aromatic oolong. So it's also, and then you can also adapt the brewing style accordingly. You can also do gongfu cha, trying to replicate a little bit the bowl brewing, in which we had 150 milliliter, 3 grams, so relatively few leaves, and then we were doing longer brewing. Actually, in that case, we just left it there. So if you want to replicate that, you could just use little leaves and do longer steeping. And then you get more the what we were saying before, this and maybe even lower temperature in this case. We're brewing here with almost 100 degrees, at least me, and a little bit lower temperature, and then you get more aromatic compound in it. And if you want that depth and maltiness, and the tea is actually made for it, then at least personally I like to put more leaves, a little bit shorter brewing, and higher temperature. So for those in the US, so let's do a little bit now. I mean, since we are almost done, I think, with this tasting, and we will wrap up shortly. I'll give a little bit of more insights to those that participate to the tea class. Over last weekend, we released fresh green teas in Europe. And 2 hours ago, we released fresh green tea in the US. And these are, for the US, is 4 different teas that are really from this year harvest. That it was for us a big effort. It's the first time that we get green tea so early in the season delivered. And it comes in extremely small amounts. So if you really want to try the first green tea of the year, that's the good opportunity. Like in Europe, we got 5 teas, and it's not because we didn't want to send the 5th to the US, but actually the guy that shipped the tea got confused and packed 1 tea completely in the European. So unfortunately, the Lu Shangyun who didn't made it to the US shop, but all the others did. And like over the weekend, we got I think 3 out of 5 teas sold out in Europe. So they will not last long, I think, in the US as well. So that would be an opportunity. And as for anticipating a little bit what is coming up next, if I am right, we have now 2 newsletters in a row with a lot of teapots. And so if any one of you was searching for a teapot, I would wait for those newsletters. So they are, I think, one very soon and the other one 2 weeks later, something like that. And speaking about before, I mentioned that in the Western world, we really want small brewing vessels. So since everyone also on Discord asked for small brewing vessels, when I last year went to Yixing, I went just with one thing in mind. I wanted to find as many good teapots I could find with less than 100 milliliters. And that's what will come out in one of these 2 newsletters, basically. So just to anticipate you a little bit of what is coming up. And in terms of new tea, we are in the process now of sourcing. So it will take some time to get all the new teas over to the US and Europe and start selling them. But we will have in May, maybe at the beginning of May, if all goes well, at least 2 early release, and one is the tea that I showed you before, and we have another one. I don't want to anticipate too much, but the other one is it's very difficult to find. It's like an extremely rare cultivar from Taiwan that has got completely forgotten, and our farmer was able to find it again and made a batch processing only for us, so that will be available only at nannuoshan, so that will come in May, and it is a very good tea. I tasted it for the first time last week because we got the first parcel, and if we are lucky we will get also a few more from Taiwan. The problem is that it has been recently extremely difficult to get Taiwan shipping delivered to Europe. Usually it goes really straightforward, and this time we had the boxes sent back to Taiwan that we have to send back over again. It has been really a nightmare. So we'll see how there are 2 more boxes that we're waiting, but one is stuck since 10 days at the German customs. So we'll see how that goes. But actually there are even more Taiwanese tea on the way. Yeah. So this is as for anticipations of what is coming. And now let's complete our review, and with the effect on the body and mind, something we didn't touch last time. So let's write, first of all, is for you is more warming or cooling. All right, I think here no one is writing cooling, so it's pretty straightforward. It's warming. It doesn't give you more a relaxing or exciting feeling. So we are more into relaxing, but there are also a few excitements. So anyway, if I have to choose one of the 2, I would choose relaxing. So we have a warming and a relaxing tea with equal amount of sweet and bitter, and to some of us also sour. The wet leaves are clearly more fragrant than the dry leaves, and although generally speaking, this is a common thing, we really got way more adjectives, tasting adjective, fragrance adjective coming out from you for the wet leaves. And in terms of taste, there was a little bit of everything there, so it's very difficult to pinpoint, but maybe yes, the spicy aspect is the one that was mentioned the most. So this would be the summary of this tea. And now to anticipate what we will drink next week, it is this cake. And if you have got the samples, you got just a sample, not the whole cake. But it is this one here, which is a tiny 100 grams, 22 years old Bingcham. That is a tea that I really like a lot. If you are already curious, you can also search it in the videos, and I think I drank these in a video I made probably in 2020 or 2021, one of the 2 years. And I remember I was on a balcony. So if you search for maybe even the thumbnail is on the balcony. I don't remember exactly, but is Yeah, you can search. I think if you search on nannuoshan 2003, you would find it. And it's a tea that I really like a lot. So although I don't even remember all the videos I made, so sometimes some people say, didn't you already mention that topic in another video? And like I forgot, but I remember very well about these recording because I like a lot the tea. So if you want to have a little spoiler, you can look into that. And otherwise, really, I look forward for me to do the bowl with the brick will be challenging. So let's see how long does it take to get some taste out of it. And then also how it performs. I think I've never done bowl brewing like that with a shampoo. So really curious to see. All right, so our time is over in 1 second, according to my watch, so just on time. And say that I'll see you all next week.